Hello all. Welcome, Selamat datang. Welcome to the Connect Summit. My name is Josephine. I'm the Development Officer at Planet Indonesia. It's nice to see some familiar faces and to meet some new people here. So welcome. So today we are bringing together five or four locally led organizations on Planet Indonesia for the first time in a webinar such as this. But it's not the first time that we have all worked together. In fact, these organizations have been coordinating in alliances and in projects and programs for the last couple of years. And that's all really to say that there's a very strong network of locally led organizations in Indonesia. And so while there's been this push in the philanthropic space for funders to be more transparent about how they work together and coordinated about who their donors are, the same goes on the flip side for practitioners and local experts in just sharing how we can be more transparent and how we're coordinated and how we work together on the ground, but also allowing everybody in those networks to share their own voice, share their work, share their solutions, and have that opportunity to connect internationally with everybody. So that's what we're here to do today. That's really the aim of this Connect Summit, is to build relationships, to enhance capacity, and to amplify the voices of all the stakeholders across Indonesia. So welcome all. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please introduce yourself in the chat. I've introduced the speakers there, but I will introduce them again in a moment. I will be the moderator for this panel, and we'll meet all of the panelists over the course of the next 75 minutes and give them all a chance to present. And then we'll have around 20 minutes around the end for any questions. So please do put your questions in the Q&A for any of the panelists or all of the panelists here today, and then we'll get through as many of those as we can. Additionally, if you want to speak directly, I can allow you to talk and we can do it like that. It might be nicer. Final thing for housekeeping is this is the first time we've ever done anything like this. And so really, really welcome, but also once this is over, we'll send you the recording and a short survey just to see how this could have gone better, what you liked, what you didn't like, anything more that you'd like to know, as well as like some information about all our presenters today. So I'll let them introduce themselves, but we'll be hearing today from Buhani from Jari, from Magdina from Akar, from Mbakderi from Japesta, and Pakheri from Tananua. But I want to pass it over now to our co-founder and executive director of Planet Indonesia, Adam Miller, who's going to have a quick presentation about the issues that we're facing in Indonesia. So let me stop sharing my screen, and Adam, I will let you take it away.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for coming today. It really is an honor to open up this event. As Joe said, my name is Adam, and I'm one of the co-founders of Planet Indonesia. And today my job is really just to set the stage a little bit. So really mostly being the bearer of bad news for you all. I'm really highlighting the challenges and issues that the presenters are working on today. But the goal of this is that so later, each organization present at the Connect Summit can really focus on their solutions and the impact that they are creating. So Indonesia is well known as one of the three climate pillars of our planet. Indonesia, the Congo Basin, and the Amazon are three critical ecosystems that are really holding up our planet's future. And with this, Indonesia faces widespread social, political, and environmental challenges. And so I'm going to highlight just four of those cross-cutting challenges that all of the partners and organizations here today are working on. So the first is around land and ocean tenure. According to the Rights and Resource Institute in a recent report, Who Owns the World's Land, Asia has the lowest percentage of community ownership of any region at less than 0.8%. And this analysis does not even include these ocean areas, where in most countries in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, there is no national framework to divulge ocean rights back to coastal communities. So this is just a map of Kalimantan. On the left, you can kind of see those small purple circles. Those are community forests, areas that the government has divulged or returned management rights back to communities. And on the right, this is a map of areas that are under corporate land control. This is just oil palm plantations, not even including mining and other concessions. So you can see the difference here. The next issue that these partners and organizations are focusing on today is around food security. And Indonesia is moving towards food insecurity. And this is really crazy because Indonesia is not some dry, arid desert country, but it is a rich tropical oasis. And so this food insecurity is being driven by climate change. The agriculture sector in Indonesia currently employs 42% of some 280 million citizens. Meanwhile, the fisheries sector employs a much smaller population at around 12 million or 5%. But over 90% of Indonesia's population depends on seafood as a source of nutrition and protein. Indonesia's National Climate Action Plan, its own action plan, predicts that agricultural productivity in the country will decrease by 18% over the next 30 years, and fisheries productivity by 28%. That's pushing some 30 million people into food insecurity. That's the size of 4 New York cities being pushed into malnutrition and in a position where families will be fighting to feed themselves. It's also predicted by the same government agency that food insecurity and productivity loss is predicted to cost the country 92.5 trillion rupiah, which is roughly about 5.6 billion US dollars. So the third issue and challenge that all of us are facing is ecosystem loss. Ecosystems are being degraded at a cost to everyone, a cost to local communities, a cost to biodiversity, and this is threatening our planet's future. In 1950, more than 87% of Indonesia was covered in primary tropical rainforests. Today, that has decreased to less than 50%, and this is a catastrophic amount of loss. Currently, over 50% of the country's primates are endangered, and something that's often not talked about is Indonesia's rich plant life. Currently, 30% are critically endangered, and over 50% are endangered or vulnerable. In the marine sector, the data is just as worrying. While there's less nationwide data on Indonesia's oceans compared to its forests, we can still find these extremely worrying case studies and trends. So for example, in Bunaken, a beautiful, vibrant reef in North Sulawesi, in just 1 year, it was estimated that 88% of coral coverage was lost from an El Nino event. And then finally is the issue of centralization and policy and governance. So Indonesia has been moving back into an ever nationalistic, centralized system. Despite the push for decentralization since the fall of President Suharto, in recent years, we've seen the government taking some very large strides back towards a regime social political system. An example of this can be the government's resistance to ratify a national bill that recognizes indigenous peoples and customary communities. This bill was first proposed in 2009, but still faces radical resistance from Indonesia's political elites. Another example of this control is the new Food Estates Program, an attempt to create food plantations across the country. It's been linked already to land evictions of indigenous and local communities. And to be honest, it's just rebranding of industrial agriculture in a new name, opening up forests and lands for companies and political elites. So what's at stake today? And now that the bad news is all out there, let's talk about the good news. And the good news is that there are organizations like JADI, JAPESTA, AKAR, and Tananua on the front line tackling these issues every single day. So we did a little bit of math. For those of you that know me, know there has to be some data in every one of my presentations. We did a little bit of math, and this is what's at stake between the 4 organizations presenting today, along with Planet Indonesia, together managing over 1 million hectares of land and ocean, together collectively reaching about more than 165 villages across the Indonesian archipelago. More than 47,000 community members are engaged in various programs, and 15 plus red list species. This includes things like the critically endangered Sumatran tiger to the endangered Sulawesi maleo. So all of our presenters today work across both marine and terrestrial ecosystems, really focusing on putting communities at the center of local Indonesia initiatives. And so At Planet Indonesia, we believe deeply in the power of partnerships and creating avenues for frontline organizations to present their work on a global stage. So we're going to get a chance to hear from 4 amazing organizations, all leveraging innovative local solutions to decentralize policies, address forest and ocean tenure, improve food security, and conserve tropical and marine ecosystems for the benefit for all. Thank you so much, and let's hear from them.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, Ibu Hani, are we going to start with you from Jari? So, yeah, please, if you can unmute yourself and start to present.
Yes. Okay, I need to share my screen first. Okay. Good morning and good evening, wherever you are. My name is Hani. I'm from Yayasan Juang Laut Lestari. As you see in the map that we are in the center of Indonesia called West Nusa Tenggara Province. And this province has 2 big islands, Lombok and Sumbawa. So yeah, so actually Yayasan Juang Laut Lestari, or we call it JARI, started like over 30 years ago. That at that time, so we love scuba diving, we love the sea, and how we can develop more, not just like diving, but how we can more contribute and giving benefits to coastal community and to the environment as well. So then we eager to establish a local NGO called Yayasan Juang Laut Lestari, and with the vision that this is our vision that is we want to like endeavoring for sustainable sea. And how we do it, so we have a mission that through the conservation, education, and ecotourism as a livelihood, we want to help or like support the coastal community to be able to manage and to use or utilize the marine resource sustainably. So yeah, we have 5 program or 5 pillars. First is like research and conservation. Over the 30 years, we do some research, both species and ecosystem. We have doing dolphin and whale research and seahorse throughout the Indonesia, and also like shark and turtle, which is like include of the CITES list. And conservation, because we have a problem also with the conservation, how we help the marine ecosystem improve. Then the second one is education and outreach, and we believe that we need to equip the young generation to able to understand and take action how when they grow up they can take action how to protect their ocean. And then marine ecotourism, as you know that Indonesia is the mega diversity of the marine biodiversity, and how we can support the local community and giving benefit for them to the environment through the marine ecotourism program. Of course, the coastal community development, as people in the front line, we call it the community and coastal community, how we can support them to be able to manage the resource sustainably. Then network development, as I think it's already like described in this event, that this is because of the network. We develop the network not only for the NGO, but also the government, coastal community, school, and also the university. And of course, we never free from the challenges. I try to like start like 3 main challenges that we face during our program or like project that we do. So the governments first, that of course, as I think Adam already highlighted, in our government system, sometimes the government don't have like political will, and also like sometimes there's lots of changing in terms of like in the government system. So that's why we need to like adjust and again, and also that overlapping program and also the leadership between the department and the government is part of the challenging. Of course, we have a problem with the environment, especially the marine ecosystem. We have the destructive fishing still going on at the moment in many places in Indonesia, and also like marine debris from the coastal area, and also from the transport that cruising around the Indonesia water, and also from the mass tourism that giving a bad impact to the environment. And also social and culture, because Indonesia consists more than like 1,000 cultures that sometimes we need to understand the culture system, and also like coastal community also like doing like some social problem like debt, and because they rely on the daily income, so it's part of the challenging that we need to face, and how we overcome the challenges. So I think the solution is there's a lot of solution that but we take 5 solution. First, like sustainability, because we want in the future that we reduce the impact for the environment, especially the marine environment. And also the partnership is also that Adam already highlight that we need the partnership. We cannot work it by ourselves, so that's why we need partnership and support our program. It should be community based, because we need people in the coastal area as the center of that area, because I think we believe that they can solve the problem, but we need to facilitate them how they can solve the problem. And also the nature-based, how the ecosystem can be improved through the nature-based approach, and also holistic, because in the coastal community, we're not working in the different community, like we have a fisherman, we have a woman, we have children, how we do holistic approach in the one community. So yeah, this is actually in Indonesia that but the idea is if community understand that they can manage their own area, it will be impact to their well-being. So that's why because they rely on the marine resource, so how they can manage increase their ability to manage it, it means that they can manage their well-being as well. Yeah, this is the Ala Strait. Ala Strait is a strait between Lombok Island and Sumbawa Island. It's very unique island. It's very unique strait between the sea, Flores Sea, and also the Indian Ocean, and lots of small islands. And we've been working in the 7 villages, around 5 in East Lombok and also 2 in West Sumbawa. And we're doing over the years that if you see in the pie chart, this is how we intervene the community, and also how we do it with them. So we build the capacity building of them. So we doing like data collector, how we doing census in the octopus fisheries at the moment, and also increase the capacity of the local fishermen, and how they can do like doing monitoring in the manner way. And also, of course, we have a problem. Sometimes we have a problem with the accident in the sea. So that's why we equip the local fishermen to do like safety sea training, so they can understand when they got a problem, so they know how to handle it. And also the teacher, because yeah, we all focus the school, so that's why we've been working with the I think more than 15 schools around that area, and then doing the teacher training and how they can deliver the marine education in the school. This is the program impact. We are just like a highlight 3, because this is the area that already been managed by the local fishermen and also the local community. And the total saving is mean that because they have a problem with the consumerism and debt, and how they solve the problem by doing savings. It's like pure saving, which is like in 3 years they already been saving like $36,000 for so they can plan what they want to use the money in the 6 months or like in 1 year in the future. And also the students, because we again that we want to like highlight that they need to equip the understanding and how they can take an action in the future with the marine area that they live. So this is our future goal. Of course, again, that we want to focus that area because Ala Strait connecting between Lombok and Sumbawa. So we will focus on that, how we can duplicate the model to other villages in the coast, the Ala Strait. The coverage area will be like adding more than, it means like adding villages doing together. It means like adding another area that we can manage. And of course, main goal that it is like very relative what we're doing today, like connect, because we want to connect the program, the people, the community, the government through the conservation and ecotourism in Ala Strait. And this is the last proverb that from Africa, that if you want to go fast, so go alone, and if you want to go far, so go together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Hani. Yeah, that was Ibu Hani from Jari. It's great to see that 50-50
Okay.
split with financial resilience in the capacity building between men and women. That's great to see. And also 36,000 in
Thank
3
you.
years. Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Okay. Akar and Magdina, are you ready to present?
I am.
Great.
Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone from here, Nepal. Actually, I was very nervous to present in front of you all, but when I read the Josephine presentation and at the opening, I thought this is just one way for us to collaborate and be friends, maybe, and help each other. So thank you, everyone, for your time. And by this Connect Summit, I hope that you feel connected with us so we can make our friends and help each other by this event, yeah. So let me share my screen. Okay. My name is Dinar. Maybe some of our friends that coming this night already know me, and I know some of you because we have meeting before this event. So, but yeah, I am here behalf on Akar Global Initiative. And Akar Global Initiative is an NGO in Indonesia that work for indigenous people and local community. And we were based in Bengkulu, in Sumatra Island, in small city. And Akar Global Initiative also was born at 2006, and then this organization also built by several adat leaders in here in Bengkulu. So this is Akar. And so we are working and start working to reducing land conflict. So everyone know about Akar because we do a lot of advocacy work in here. And then we also do advancing human rights and promoting development and contributing to sustainable climate solution. And it all can start with strengthening the community tenure rights, or we can call it like increase their capability about the law, about their rights. And also Akar Global Initiative works alongside indigenous people and local communities to advance their community land rights while sharing knowledge, innovation, and tools that together. And we work at with indigenous people and local community in forest area, in coastal area, and especially in plantation area. Why plantation area is special? Because in Indonesia, that as Adam mentioned before, we facing a lot of agrarian conflict in Indonesia, especially in plantation area. So actually, we are working to reducing the conflict between community with government or community with the company. And our approaches, so Akar Global Initiative Framework is structured through several stage of activity. Maybe it's same like others, but we are starting from research and assessment and capacity building, organizing, developing community networks, encouraging policy reform, sustainable and inclusive natural resources management, governments, and community business development to improve their well-being. And our focus to ensure that tenure security and sustainable of community livelihood. So we most of our work is facilitate community to get their license or get their rights back from the company or from the government to buy recognition. So that's why our approaches, we start from FPIC. FPIC is free prior informed consent. So this is our like our base of work. If we don't get consent from community, we can work with them. And then after that, after we get FPIC, we also build like FPIC protocol with indigenous people and local communities. So even when the outsider come to their village or their land, they can facing them with with confidence, yeah. Also with their FPIC protocols. And then the second is community transformative research. So we cannot make we think that the training, the workshop, or something like that, it's not enough to make to increase the community capabilities and awareness about their rights. But by research, we can make sure that our community have awareness about their problem. So they choose their own solution by their consciousness, not by direction from others, like government or us as a outsider. And then the third, the important thing is legal reform. So we make sure that our approaches not it's allowed to our regulation in Indonesia. So we make sure that if they get license or get access to the forest, it's legal. It's legally and it's protected by that legal or law status. And then the last is sustainable livelihood and ecosystem. This is become very important because like in plantation area that community has conflict with company, their livelihood resources was destructive by them by this production. So we in our approaches in our work, we make sure that after they get license, after they get access to their land, they also have to make sure that their livelihood is sustainable and can and accessible by their living space. So Adam already highlight some impact of challenges that we are facing now in Indonesia. And as you know, the impact of extreme climate change on life. And I think the all of our challenges coming from climate change, yeah. Like land uses change and land tenure and political or regime transition. It's coming from the climate change. So based on our research, there is like impact from the health aspect, like declining environmental quality for from community to access the water, the air, and the food causes mental health disorder. Because as young generation, I feel like health is really become our concern now, and even malnutrition. And agriculture and food, you know that in global capitalism, communication become really crazy now in our village. So there is no local food anymore. What they plant in their land just commodity. Yeah, there is no local food anymore. So the climate change also causes these things. And infrastructure, you know that, yeah, infrastructure destruction of property and reduce the quality of service to the public, quality service to public, yeah. And the economic loss and damage caused by the climate crisis that can be assigned monetary values. These things coming from just our conference for several days in here. So economic loss and damage causes, it's one of priority issue that we'll discuss on the next COP that will happen 2 weeks later after this week's. But we still optimistic. We feel optimistic with our value and our approaches. We have solution to answer the challenges. So our solution based on community-based environmental and natural resources management. And the first step is strengthen community action for biodiversity conservation and resources management. Two, promoted policy and financial scheme to support community rights to land or resources governance and recognition. Third, building effective partnership for community participation in global forum. And fourth, share lesson and experience at regional and global levels like we do it now. And this is it's our I am not comfortable to saying this impact, but maybe I just want to know that our work successfully helping and securing more than 20,000 hectare of land, yeah. This land belongs to indigenous people and local community that lives surrounded by forest and coastal area. And also we already assist more than 70 villages in Indonesia, especially in Sumatra Island. And then there is 13 more than 13 household that as a beneficiaries of our work, and there is 139 community group that we support. And here also our success story, that because I mentioned that AKAR is really focusing our work for advocacy. So, but maybe for 2 decades, we already got 43 new policies implemented for sustainable governments, like by local governments and by village governments. So this policy, it's more about the government recognition to IPLC rights. And then we have like local regulation that recognize also indigenous people in Rejang. The old Rejang is like old Malayu clan in Bengkulu. And we also get more, I think this one, more than 21 social forestry license issues that promoting community-based land management. And we also, at 2018, we also succeed to access public fund. This is our most achievement. I think for 1 decade we get we can access 86,000 USD to 30 members of like community groups in South Sumatra, and we also get more than 470,000 USD for 133 forest community farmers in Bengkulu, especially in Rejang Lebong. So this is also one project in Indonesia that succeeds to give reforestation fund for farmer. So before that scam come, the government only distribute this fund to company. Okay. Next project is we still on our track, yeah. We still want to building a forest management based and community value. We want to start with 20,000 hectare managed through social forestry, hoping that social forestry policy is not erased by new regime in Indonesia. And also in marine management, we're hoping that the community in coastal area can manage 5,000 hectares of the coastal and marine area in here in Bengkulu, and resources management integration. So we also wishing that the integration of forest management with regional development plans and food security issue and environmental health. And because I am following this conference today, I really also focusing this our next program to youth program. So we want to start to organize the youth and IPLC in Bengkulu. Actually, we already have like 55 youth from IPLC from three biggest community in Bengkulu. And after organize them, we also facilitate them to do data collection for the construction of their knowledge and their value of adat. And then the third step is building publication platform. We already start to make a website about this publication product that produced by youth from IPLC, and then building FPIC protocol like we are now assisting in Enggano indigenous people and Rejang indigenous people. So I think that's all from my side about our work in here. I really hope that we are become friends, and I hope that you all feel connected with us, so we can start to working together forward. Thank you all. Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you. Thank you, Adina. Yeah, I mean, it's always really inspiring to hear Akar's work. And I think Planet Indonesia has learned a lot about from you guys about how to navigate social forestry and land rights. And you guys do amazing advocacy work, which we don't do at all. So yeah, it's really fantastic. You did have some questions, but I'll leave them in the chat to be answered so we can move on, so we stay on time. Yeah, so just do answer those. And then we would like to introduce Japesta. So yeah, Mbak Dewi from Japesta, please take it away. Love to see your slides.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. It's such an honor to be here. My name is Dewi. I am from Perkumpulan Japesta Gorontalo. Japesta is a local NGO based in Gorontalo. As you can see, this is Gorontalo, this is Sulawesi, and the area that we are working on currently is the green one. And since its establishment back in 2000, Japesta has assisted at least 91 villages, and we have more than 150,000 beneficiaries that lays across 250 hectares areas. Now, currently, Japesta is working to assist 8 villages, both in Gorontalo province and Central Sulawesi. Maybe I have to mention that Japesta, Perkumpulan Japesta, is an organization which membership is based on individual and also other small environmental organizations. So back in 2000, our strong work lays on advocacy, and by advocacy we mean going like for demonstration and head-to-head with the government. But then we started to shift into rebranding our organization to rebalance our conservation efforts between the land and the sea to foster sustainable communities. So we are currently working in both in marine and terrestrial areas. So in land-based conservation, we try to protect forest, promoting like sustainable agriculture, as well as preventing wildlife poaching. And this is all done in collaboration with the communities that we are working on. Meanwhile, in our marine area, we try to enhance their sustainable fisheries practices by, and at the same time, we try to protect the coastal ecosystems and reducing destructive fishing practices that are common in our areas. So in addition to that, we also work basically in coastal, marine, and small islands management. And we do environmental education in collaboration with youth groups and also schools and universities. And because we are prone to natural disasters, we also have a program for disaster mitigation and preparedness. And in doing so, we try to uphold our human rights. Especially, we are advocating for the rights of the marginal community at the terrestrial and marine areas, and we also promote gender equality, disability, and social inclusion for the people that we're working on. And in doing so, we also try to create work with the community to do sustainable economic development by creating alternative livelihoods or enhancing the potential that they already have in their areas or in their villages that they are living in and that we are working on. All those works that we've been doing for the last 23 to 24 years, we've met with several challenges and those challenges have significant impact on our work. And environmental damage such as forest encroachment, like conversion of land into corn plantations, wildlife poaching both in protected forest and also forest degradation. That outpace our efforts to rehabilitate those areas. And then there are also issues on space conflicts, just like Adam and my previous colleagues from Dinar has said that issues with land use and also destructive fishing practices, like the use of bombing to destroy the reefs, and a lot of other threats to the biodiversity, both inland and on the sea. In addition to that, another challenge is that there are economic potentials from the rural areas that we're working on. They have their resources, but the potential are still untapped and underdeveloped. And another thing is that the current practice that we do have right now is not adequate to support and improve the livelihoods of the small scale fisheries and also small scale farmers. So a lot of them are still depend on their practice of monoculture and increasing their pressure towards the resources around them, like forests and also the sea. And another significant challenge for us is program integration issues. A lot of things that we consider as best practices often ended up as best practice only when the project is still going on. But when the project is completed, it's not being integrated into or adopted as government programs. That's why, because of the lack of synergy between what we are working with our works and the document plan that the government has, either it's annual or midterm or long-term planning of the government. Now, in order to solve these issues, we've tried several solutions, and we think this is working. And those solutions are let's say sustainable management, but by sustainable management, we try to promote best practices for managing the natural resources. That's like you see in the picture, we are reintroducing the natural vegetative strip practices, agroforestry for the farmers that farms in the hills area, in the slope area of in Gorontalo, in one of the village that we are helping. And we try to introduce these practices. This is not a new practice. This was used to be practiced by the farmers before a big industrialization of corn came to our area. And then another thing is that we try to launch new initiatives in collaboration with organizations such as YPE and also another organization. We try to create community conservative-based cooperative where because of these people are so remote, they have no access to financial institution. So we are trying to improve their financial literacies. And here what we got in one of our areas, in terrestrial areas, that the community are actually keen to, they know they have needs and they know that by saving their income, they will be able to fund for their next cycle of planting corn or planting, or maybe bringing their children to school, and their other needs that are, they can predict that they can do this saving for, use this saving for funding their needs. And we also do collaboration with universities, as I said before, because they have a lot of untapped potentials, economic potentials, livelihood potential. So we're trying to partner with university to create derivative products from the resources that around them, like from coconut tree, from brown sugar. We try to develop lots of products to be in collaboration with universities or other more settled small and medium enterprises for to develop these products. And we also try to do advocacy and integration, but by advocacy, we're trying to advocate what we think are working from our best practices and try to integrate them to open up discussion with the government. So it is being taken into as a government program. It doesn't matter if they would like to claim it as their own. What matters to us is that it is being sustainable and it's being integrated into their planning documents. So then we know it's after the project is ended, it will still going on. And this another similar solution is that what we have in our marine as well. So we're trying to do temporary closure of their fishing grounds to give time for the octopus in this case to grow bigger and for the fishermen to have better catch. And the initiative, the saving and loans as well, we also do it in the marine programs. And collaboration here, we collaborate with Bank of Indonesia. It's one to, for instance, to have, after establishing this fishermen groups, we're trying to have a lot of people and institution come to help them. So in that way, we try to ensure that after we are leaving, they will be more sustainable and a lot of people will know them and their project is being integrated into the village, at least in the village programs. And also similar with the one in the terrestrial areas, we try to develop their products, their octopus into a lot of derivative products such as chips and their fish sauce, etc. So what we've achieved so far is that in the last at least 10 years of what we've documented well, that we've already have managed an area of about 224,000 hectares. and we replanted an area of 823 hectares, and we have an impact of 104,000 hectares. So we also documented that we've assisted directly 59 community groups, and we have assisted, our program has assisted 110 beneficiary groups, and we've have our direct beneficiaries is at least 146,459 people, and with this more than 100,000 indirect beneficiaries. Why this number seems to be inconsistent? Because we have, like, from my second slide, if I don't mistake, it's because we realized that at the beginning of our establishment, we don't really documented our works well, and that's one of the area that we would like to improve. So what we would like to achieve for the next 3 to 5 years, so at least what we've had as best practices, we would like to replicate these things into having more villages in terrestrial areas, to replicate these smart climate agricultural practices, as well as the community in the marine areas to practice more sustainable fisheries practices and activities that we are trying right now, and it seems to be working. So we would like more people got exposed and have access to this smart climate agriculture, both smart climate agriculture and also sustainable fisheries practices. And in that hope, we would like to at least have more, like at least 40,000 hectares of areas in Gorontalo and Central Sulawesi will be participatorily managed, because that's what we need to have the small community have control over their own land and their own sea and their own resources. And we would like to get more policies from the government to support conservation, both in agriculture, land conservation, and sea conservation. So we would like to have this. We hope to enhance the community welfare by taking into consideration their local wisdom. I know this might be a dream, sounds like a big dream, but this is not impossible. And with the help of everyone here, we would like to achieve this dream together. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you, Japesta. Thank you. Yeah, we can move on to Tananua because we only have 15 minutes left and we want to give Tananua some time to share theirs. Yeah, but Pak Heri from Tananua. Okay, so Pak Heri will be speaking in Indonesian. So we'll have some translation in the chat for you and his slides will be in English. So yeah, it's exciting to hear from him. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih Josephine dan teman-teman semua. Selamat malam. Ya, saya mencoba untuk share presentasi saya. Minta maaf, saya memang kurang fasih berbahasa Inggris, tapi saya coba untuk dalam bahasa Indonesia. Oke. Perkenalkan, saya Herise dari Yayasan Tananua Flores. Saat ini saya dipercayakan sebagai manajer program dan saya bekerja di Tananua Flores kurang lebih 12 tahun. Dan Yayasan Tananua Flores sorry. Oke. Yayasan Tananua Flores, kalau kita lihat dalam peta ya, Indonesia itu paling kecil. Dia berada di Nusa Tenggara Timur, khususnya di Kepulauan Flores. bertepatan di Kabupaten Ende. Dan Tanaman Flores ini lahir di Waingapu, Sumba Timur pada tahun 1989. Dia berkarya bersama dengan masyarakat hulu dan pesisir. Lahirnya Tanaman Flores atas dasar keprihatinan terhadap kondisi Nusa Tenggara Timur umumnya dan khususnya untuk masyarakat Flores, khususnya di Ende, itu terjadi krisis lahan, kemudian sumber daya manusia yang terbatas, kemudian juga terjadi kemiskinan, ada kemiskinan di sana. Ini yang mendorong bahwa Tanaman Flores mencoba untuk mengambil posisi pada kesempatan itu untuk mendukung dan membantu masyarakat di pesisir dan juga di hulu. Kondisi di Ende waktu itu bahwa dengan topografinya yang berbukit-bukit, Ende dengan kondisi berbukit-bukit dengan luas wilayahnya kurang lebih 2085,19 km. Secara administrasi terdapat 21 kecamatan dengan 278 desa dan kelurahan. Dengan pada kondisi saat itu masyarakat Ende itu berjumlah kurang lebih 278.581 jiwa dengan petani kurang lebih 41.866 jiwa dengan masyarakat kategori miskinnya kurang lebih 63.100 jiwa tercatat pada tahun 2023 saat ini. Sampai saat ini, Tanaman Flores mendampingi kurang lebih 105 desa, di antaranya 55 desa yang sudah di phase out dan 50 desa yang masih didampingi di 14 kecamatan. Dengan satu misi programnya itu merawat bumi, memelihara kehidupan, dengan upaya meningkatkan komunitas dengan mata pencarian petani dan nelayan secara berkelanjutan. Ini gambaran terkait Kabupaten Ende, salah satu kabupaten yang memiliki potensi wilayah hutan yang cukup luas menurut kami, kurang lebih 57.740 hektar dengan pembagian 36.000 hutan produktif, hutan lindung kurang lebih 21.112 hektar, dan hutan tutupan kurang lebih 621,16 hektar. Dan itu terletak di daerah hutan dan di antaranya itu ditinggali oleh masyarakat Kabupaten Ende. Dan saat ini kami mencoba mendampingi kurang lebih 16 kelompok perhutanan sosial. Dari sini kami juga menemukan, dengan potensi ini kami juga menemukan beberapa tantangan yang cukup serius. Salah satunya itu tantangan deforestasi dan kekeringan dan juga degradasi tanah. Penurunan produktivitas pertanian, dan itu yang kemudian menyebabkan bahwa masyarakat di daerah hulu dan juga pesisir itu cukup banyak yang hidupnya belum sejahtera. Ini menjadi tantangan yang kemudian menurut Tananua yang harus terus kami lakukan bersama dengan komunitas-komunitas yang ada di daerah hulu maupun daerah pesisir. Kemudian Tananua mencoba untuk mendukung masyarakat daerah hulu dan pesisir dengan beberapa upaya yang cukup strategis dengan pendekatan masyarakat pesisir dan hulu memimpin pembangunan yang ada di wilayah desa mereka masing-masing. Dan Tanah Nua konsen dengan apa yang namanya pembangunan yang dipimpin oleh masyarakat sendiri. Salah satunya dengan membangun kapasitas komunitas yang ada di pesisir dan juga yang ada di daerah hulu. Saat ini ada kurang lebih 8 kelompok yang kemudian menjadi dukungan utama dalam kelompok perhutanan sosial, dan juga ada 8 kelompok baru yang sedang diasistensi untuk kita dampingi. Kemudian ada advokasi kebijakan dengan satu pendekatan baru ketika kita belajar bersama dengan YPI kemarin, Pak Adam ada saat ini, dan juga dengan Ibu Novi terkait dengan Smart Patrol. Dan ini yang membuat kami juga yakin bahwa dengan pendekatan ini akan membantu masyarakat supaya bisa mengelola hutannya sendiri. Kemudian kami juga melakukan pemulihan lahan dengan melakukan penghijauan di lahan-lahan kritis, melakukan penanaman pohon, kemudian melakukan konservasi tanah dengan pembuatan pupuk, dan juga mengembangkan pangan lokal. Salah satu konsentrasi Tanah Nua adalah ketahanan pangan komunitas. Dan ini yang saat ini dengan kondisi alam yang terus berubah, perubahan iklim, maka Tanah Nua cukup konsen dengan bagaimana memperkuat kelompok-kelompok yang ada di pesisir dan juga kelompok-kelompok yang ada di hulu dengan pengembangan pangan lokal yang berbasis pertanian organik. Dampak yang kemudian Tanah Nua rasakan dan juga masyarakat dampingan rasakan bahwa saat ini Tanah Nua mendampingi masyarakat kurang lebih 19.540 jiwa atau 51% yang kemudian penerima manfaat langsung dari kegiatan-kegiatan yang dilakukan oleh Tanah Nua. Dari total populasi kedampingan itu kurang lebih 38.516 jiwa. Dan ini Tanah Nua lagi berusaha secara terus-menerus untuk meningkatkan daya upaya membantu masyarakat di daerah hulu dan juga daerah pesisir. Yang menariknya juga bahwa Tanah Nua ketika bicara terkait dengan konservasi, kurang lebih pencapaian yang kita dapat kemarin, kurang lebih 2.670 hektar yang dikelola oleh 15.432 masyarakat, petani maupun nelayan terhadap lahan, terhadap pesisir. Itu membuat masyarakat di daerah pesisir dan hulu itu makin yakin bahwa ini adalah ruang hidup kami dan kami harus jaga dan kami harus rawat. Dan daya upaya itu juga memberikan dampak yang cukup besar untuk Kabupaten Ende dan juga untuk masyarakat desa dampingan itu sendiri. Kurang lebih ini 17.000 ini kita kemarin salah ketik, kurang lebih 37 desa yang kemudian sedang didampingan ini saat ini sampai sekarang ini kami menemukan, dan ketika melakukan monitoring dan evaluasi masyarakat di daerah hulu itu sudah meningkat kualitas lingkungannya, terutama tanah dan juga air, dan hutan keluarga menjadi contoh yang sangat baik ketika masyarakat bisa menggunakan hutan keluarga itu untuk kepentingan rumah dan juga pembangunan rumah dan juga untuk kebutuhan anak sekolah. Kemudian juga ada peningkatan mata air dan sumber mata air ketika sudah melakukan penghijauan di sekitar mata air dan juga ada mata air baru ketika kami melakukan konservasi bersama dengan masyarakat atau komunitas itu sendiri. Dan di pertanian berkelanjutan terjadi peningkatan produksi dengan menggunakan teknik pertanian tradisional, teknik pertanian organik yang dilakukan oleh kelompok-kelompok daerah hulu. Kemudian dari satu pendekatan yang menarik dari Tananua, bagaimana mendekatkan hutan ke kebun-kebun masyarakat dengan satu istilah yang namanya hutan keluarga, itu sangat membantu masyarakat yang ada di daerah hulu untuk mendapatkan akses lebih baik terhadap penggunaan kayu-kayuan dan juga mereka melakukan konservasi ulang. Kemudian terkait dengan nutrisi ternak, ini juga menjadi contoh yang sangat baik ketika Tananua bersama dengan komunitas melatih bagaimana peningkatan ekonomi dan juga pemenuhan gizi nutrisi bagi ternak yang mereka miliki. Dan ini juga mendukung upaya untuk pengurangan stunting dan juga pemenuhan gizi di keluarga itu sendiri. Dan Tananua memiliki satu mimpi besar bersama dengan komunitas pesisir maupun dengan komunitas hulu. Pertama, bahwa Tananua yakin dengan program ini kurang lebih 250 hektar melalui pendekatan PS nanti untuk dikelola oleh masyarakat di daerah hulu, khususnya kelompok-kelompok yang di daerah hulu untuk pelestarian lingkungan. Kemudian yang kedua, memastikan hutan itu menjadi lestari yang didukung dengan komunitas yang ada di hulu untuk melakukan pengelolaan. Kemudian yang ketiga, masyarakat sendiri memimpin dan berpartisipasi untuk melakukan konservasi hutan, menjaga hutan, melestarikan, dan masyarakat ini menjadi kunci untuk kesuksesan bagaimana mengembangkan program penghijauan dan konservasi di hutan itu sendiri. Kemudian yang keempat, itu kami yakin dengan kerja-kerja yang sederhana bersama dengan masyarakat hulu dan hilir, bahwa peningkatan ketahanan pangan lokal dan juga ekonomi masyarakat hulu dan hilir menjadi sangat penting untuk dikelola secara baik oleh mereka sendiri. Dan yang mimpi yang terakhir, bahwa kerja-kerja Tananua membutuhkan dukungan dari berbagai pihak, terutama juga donor-donor yang mungkin hadir pada malam hari ini. Dan ini menjadi kolaborasi yang sangat baik untuk mendukung dan melestarikan alam dan lingkungan yang menjadi tempat hidup kita bersama. Yang terakhir, terima kasih banyak. Ada satu kutipan yang menarik, mimpinya Tananua, bersama kita bermimpi tentang dunia yang berkelanjutan dan masyarakat yang makmur. Mari bergandeng tangan dan saling dukung, kita bisa membuat program kita berhasil. Saya dari Tananua, terima kasih Pak Yosepin. Selamat malam untuk kita semua.
Terima kasih banyak, Pak Heri. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to the end of our presentations. We can close. Yep, fantastic. Thank you all so much for attending and coming and spending your morning with us. And also thank you very much all the presenters for spending their evening with us. We are at time, but since if everybody wants to say a few more minutes, I think an important question that we can ask everybody here on the panel is, like, what are the main challenges you face in accessing and managing international funds? I think that would be a good way to end this discussion. But if you do need to run, thank you very much all for attending. We'll send you the recording and the survey after this. But and thank you. But yes, if we'd like to hear from anyone on the panel, yeah, what are your main challenges in accessing and managing international funds? If anybody has an answer.
Joe, I wanna answer the question, especially also from my friends. I forget the name. But as I mentioned in my presentation before, that one of our success story is to access public fund to community directly from the government to them. So we are really facing, I think this similar with other condition in several area that our friends assisting in like in Jari or Japesda and Tananua, because the community has no like legitimation status like decree for their existence and also the experience to manage money directly. So they are become a main problem of this of your question. So I think now Akar with our global partners also we are want to submit a green climate fund to the 16 COP in CBD COP next weeks. Yeah, so this is one opportunity to make sure our donors friend can get through directly, give them our community challenge opportunity to get their own funds. So that's from me.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion on the specific mechanisms that particularly GCF and other big funders and multilaterals can do to get more than just the 1% of climate funding and funding to actual local initiatives. So yeah, that's a big topic at the moment. So I'm happy to see you guys are working on that. And yeah, we'll have some discussions about the actual, working on it. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. I'll leave if anybody has any final comments or final things they would like to say, please do now. And if not, it has been an absolute pleasure to have all of you here today and everyone attending. So thank you. Muhani, Dewi?
Josh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Okay, finally. Yeah. I'm sorry for the trouble earlier.
No.
Like everyone's message just blew me into my text box earlier. So yeah, I think I'll just add to what Dinar has said, that I think one of the biggest challenges for local NGO to access international funding, one is that many of us don't have access. Yeah, we don't have the access, the link to those international donors or fundings out there. And the second one is that our works are not heard much at the international level. So if you mention Japesda or any local NGOs, that would be like, what's that NGO again? So it's less of exposure out there is one of the things that I think made the donor are less convinced if they're there. And if we apply it in lots of cases that we face is that unless we have a long portfolio of works that has been proven accountable and working in the eyes of the standard of the donor, that would make us more more visible. I
Mm,
think to put it that way. And because a lot of small organizations don't have that kind of exposure, don't have that kind of links that like what we have in Alibi, with what we have with YPI and with Akar and with Jari and Tananua. I think that's what made us hard to access the international
mm,
fundings. And maybe also because we don't do a lot of research and we don't publish a lot of our works out there. That's what I think one of the challenges to access funding.
mm.
I think.
Yeah. So hopefully together, I think we can do more to leverage the communications and our and your organizations in that international space. And yeah, one thing particularly that donors like to see, they like, it's this challenge of donors only really like to go with recommended other foundations.
Of course.
But
Who
sometimes they need to
this organization.
sometimes they need to look a little bit outside their circle,
Yeah.
and trust-based philanthropy goes that little bit further on, right? And taking that risk on with some of these smaller but fantastic organizations that just don't have that visibility. So hopefully that's a lesson we can work on together with everybody here. Thank you. Thanks to everyone. I think we can wrap that up now. So thank you, Jari, to Akar, Jujapesta, and Tananua, and Planet Indonesia for hosting today. And yes, we'll be emailing you all. So thank you very much for coming. And this wraps up to the first Connect Summit. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you, Josh,
Thank
for
you,
organizing.
everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Have a great day ahead, evening.
Bye.
Bye.